Hi, it's been about a month since I last saw you all. I've been trying to sort a whole raft of things out, which slowly but surely are coming together. So I thought, hey, let's check in and be rather topical, I suppose, considering there is a massive sporting event apparently going on a global scale. Some of you may have heard of it. It's called the World Cup. Now, this is quite a big thing every 4 years, kind of like the Olympics, where obviously people kind of get all patriotic, or so they think, but there's probably very little patriotism in fact involved, and it's more an excuse to imbibe copious amounts of alcohol and such, and go a bit crazy. So, I mean, there's tons of stuff already out there about, the state of Brazil, as it is it a good thing, really? Is it doing anything of any major note for the country? There's a ton of stuff out there already that covers that, so that's not really where I'm going. What's more of a big kind of problem is, a number of things. Now, for one, just so we're all definitely on the same page, I am talking about football or soccer, which is actually, just as a quick sidebar, perfectly acceptable, because it is something that was in use in England for a while, and is a shortening of association football. Think of how you spell association, it's got the sock bit in there, soccer, and as I say, English people were using it for quite a while, before people just got lazy. So, American fans, you're doing something actually right. Well done. But yeah, that's what we're on about when I say football. It's not American football, Australian football, it's soccer, basically. So that's the first kind of point, just so we're all on the same page. But one of the major issues I have, particularly, I suppose this is definitely more for sort of English viewers, the fact that one of the questions that often comes up in everyday conversation is about football, on this weird assumption that you are in this country and you're clearly a native based on your accenting and what have you. So, what team do you support? For example, I was speaking to someone I'd literally met the same night, and got the question of, when I was talking about my origins, being originally from Wolverhampton, it was like, oh, do you support Wolves? There is no intermediate question of, oh, do you like football? So then, do you support Wolves? No, it skips over that. It's this weird assumption. And that, in my opinion, needs to stop. As a musician, I don't walk up to everyone going, you must like this band. Yeah, okay, everyone likes a form of music, but I would never look at someone with long hair like myself and a beard, as I once had, and just go, you must like metal. You listen to Fear Factory. It's a similar kind of assumption, and people make it for all the wrong reasons. So that's my first bugbear. The second bugbear, which kind of comes more into sort of why I'm not particularly that bothered about football, is the fact that when you look at it with how particularly it's evolved or devolved, as the case may be, it's become a lot more akin to tribal warfare. I mean, to a degree, it always was. It's two tribes of people fighting over something. Obviously in this case, it's not over anything worthwhile, like resources, or, like the last worthwhile war, if such a term exists, World War II, where obviously it was for liberty, and obviously to prevent oppression and fascist regimes. But this is just a war over who can put a ball in a net more times than the other guys. The problem is when it kind of gets to a religious fervour kind of level, which obviously is going to be more from the fans. Years ago, football hooliganism was known as much as it is today, yet there is there's almost like a cult status attached to it now, which, again, is a religious term, That's what cult came from. You had religious cults. Then it came into more common usage for obscure TV shows and such. But as I say, the fact that it gets such kind of a bizarre following, of these kind of almost brainwashed troops on the ground, who are like, my team are better than your team. And, when it devolves into actual violence, why? It's not important. You're getting aggressive and claiming superiority over whether you support one bunch of guys or a different one. And that's just weird. When you think about it that way, it's weird. Sort of basically having it as this is part of you, this part of this individual is that they are behind this particular group of people, to the point that they will outwardly abuse, physically or verbally, other people. When you look at it that way, it sounds wrong no matter where you come from, I'm sure. Unless, obviously, you have massive psychopathic or sociopathic tendencies. And, there's nothing right about this to a rational, logical, objective person, anyone who's kind of like, it's nothing like tribal warfare, blah, 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 then why do you feel the need, or why does anyone really feel the need to wear gang colours? Because if you think about it, the massive gang wars and things like that do happen in various places around the country. I'm not going to single out a country. It happens everywhere. It's just some are more heard of than others. But gang signs and gang colours exist. And if you think about it, team strips, team outfits are gang colours. So it's gang warfare. And gang warfare is another form of tribal warfare. There's no way that you can sort of look at it objectively and not reach a similar conclusion. So, it's bad enough. Then when you put it on the global scale, so there's already global wars that happen. So now you're turning this into another global war that happens every 4 years, which is very strange. Particularly as well for expats. If you've moved to another country and both of the teams are in the same group, like the country you're living in and the country you're from, where do you stand? Do you single yourself out and potentially get persecuted, or do you turncoat on your original location? There's a lot of issues there, but going back to the point, taking this to a global scale can make it really messy. We've seen it in inter-regional competitions, like the things that often happen in between. At least I know for the European side, the World Cups. Every sort of 4 years there's the European competition. So basically, you get 2 years gap between a World Cup and a European competition. You sort of look at those, and obviously, in World Cup stakes, it can get very, very messy. It has been seen, rioting and all sorts, because the country's team lost. So all of the travelling supporters, if it's their team particularly, sort of almost see that they have to kind of pillage and sack the area they're in as some way of kind of going, well, at least we've got superiority over you there. That's not superiority, that's inferiority. Because letting oneself get to such a state over something as inconsequential as a sports game is silly, really. So, enjoy it by all means as a normal person if you do. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying football should be killed, I'm not saying any sport should be killed. At the end of the day, if it gets people outside enjoying the sun, and sort of having a decent level of fitness, that's fine. But as with everything in life, moderation is the key. So enjoy it, as much as you feel you should, as long as you're not infringing on anyone else, and as long as you're not preaching that this is the best thing ever to anyone else. That goes for any sporting thing where there are teams. Just treat it like anything else you enjoy, and be a decent human being. Doesn't take much. So until next time, take care.